This video is about creating XLPublish Excel-based reports. Many people I talk to want to continue using Excel for their reporting and their dashboarding. They don't want to get involved or can't get involved or can't justify the cost of going all the way to Power BI, and I can understand that. So we decided to give people an option. We would make the capabilities of XLPublish to extract data from big spreadsheets and produce data sets that can be used for reporting, provide those to people who are going to do Excel reports as well. And so the whole idea, the whole XLP idea of separating your calculating big spreadsheet from your reporting data and its spreadsheet is preserved for Excel users. Now, here we have a good example of this. I'm going to show you how this works. I have a source file and a target file. So when I open this target file, it has three tables. The employee data table, which is detail. It has the departments table, and it has a pivot table cube in it. They're all based on this file, HR Analysis 03. I've published this. I've got my target file. I want to create a report file. Now, this is going to be a report file based on the data that was exported to the target file. So I clicked Create Report File, and it pops up this dialog box of the current folder, the target folder. And so I found the XLP file. Now you have to select an XLP underscore file that is created by XLPublish. So I'm going to click the first one here, and I'm going to click OK. And when I do that, it gives me a choice of tables from the target file. I'm going to select the outer two and click Create. What it's going to do now, it's going to import the tables, and it's going to import any measures and any relationships, and it's going to create an info table and drop you into this file with connections back to the target file. And here's your report file. When I click close on this, it drops me back onto the report worksheet, which includes its own little info table, which has the name of the original file. It has the names of the data sets, who published it, which is me, and when it was last published at 10/26. Now, what I have here is a set of fields. If I go data connections, you will see that I have connections to this two tables in the target file. If I go into Power Pivot, I have the two tables here, including any measures that were in that table in the target file. So for example, I have salary, and you'll notice here that salary is formatted because it was formatted by me in the target file. So how do I use this? I go and create a new sheet, and I go Insert, for example, Pivot Table. I'm going to use the data model, and I'm going to put it right here. And there's my table. So I'm going to say, all right, so the department and the salaries. And there is my little pivot table, which is taking advantage of the relationship between the department table and the employee table. So for example, I can go in here and insert a pivot chart, and I can put it wherever I want. And I have the beginnings of a report, the beginnings of an Excel dashboard. And remember, it's in a completely separate file. There's nothing else in here except the connections and the data model data and the worksheets that you create here. So I'm going to go save this. I'm going to save this as, although you don't have to go save as because it's by default a template. So if I go new and I pick the folder that I want to put this into. I'm going to put it right back home where I got it from. And I'm going to call this Rep HR Data 01. And I save it. Now, what you can do with this, once it's saved, is you can send this file to people. If you send it to people through an email and they do not have access to your original target file, like the folder in this case is in the same folder next to the source file, which is in my private space, they will have the file, they will have its current set of data, and the date and time of the data will be in the info table, and they can do with it as they please, but they cannot refresh it. If, on the other hand, you put this target file, the target file itself, in a SharePoint folder, as I instructed in the other videos, then you could build this so that it points to that table. And if that file in that folder, and if your users have access to that folder because of SharePoint rights, they can go data, refresh all, and it will refresh the data as of the most recent. Now, what's interesting is to notice this, that once this is refreshed, it's going to have the same last refreshed date and time. And the reason that is because I haven't updated the data. The data still was the data that I published at 10:26 this evening. But let's do something. Let's go back to the sheet and look at this number. It says 613,745. I'm going to go back to the source file. And I'm going to give this person who's Alice in Wonderland, who's in Department 4, which Department 4 is Asset Management. And I'm going to give this person a raise. So I'm going to make her $200,000. Then I'm going to publish the source file. And the source file is published. I click close here. I go back to my report. You notice it says 1026. Notice here it says 613. I go data, refresh all. And now it says 1047. And it says 713 because that person got a big promotion and got $100,000 more a year. So let's think about what we've just done. We've created a separate report, which, for example, has, in this case, just 2 tables. But what's interesting is I can go in now and I can say, okay, I want this pivot table to include sex, and I want this pivot table to show age across the top. Now, I know it's going to pervert this particular chart, but that's fine. I'll just get rid of it. But the bottom line is what we've done is we've created a report that we can make look however we wish, or we can just go like this and just look at people by age and their salaries. If we have other measures that are in the target file, like averages and counts, they will show up over here on the right as well, and we can drop them into our pivot table. But remember, this pivot table is fed by a connection back to the target file. We have separated our calculation from our presentation, and that is the goal of Excel Publish.